Welcome to the In Love with PMDD Podcast. I am your host, Rose, your PMDD Relationship Expert. I have personally been suffering with PMDD for over 15 years and spent so much time desperately trying to navigate my intimate relationships, going from breakup to breakup, thinking that everyone else was the problem. I am now married to an amazing PMDD partner thanks to the PMDD specific relationship tools that I have developed over the years, and now I am here to share them with you. Because I know that there is not much research available to PMDD partners, I am now dedicating my doctorate practice specifically for PMDD relationships. I am a traumatology doctoral candidate, and each week I will be providing PMDD partners with my signature PMDD Trauma Transformational Tools on how to effectively navigate an intimate relationship while having PMDD, so that you can avoid the patterns of breaking up with your partner every single month, and you can finally have the supportive relationship that we all desire and deserve. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Now let's get into your weekly dose of PMDD relationship tools. We got this. Today is one day away from PMDD for me, so it is very symbolic that I record this podcast. If you hear an echo, it is because I am in my new house. I just moved to California from the East Coast in Maryland. I did the drive and I'm finally here. My household goods are going to arrive tomorrow, but for right now, I'm in this empty house, which is me, my microphone, and you. Today, we're going to talk about something that is very symbolic about what's going on in my life, and that is being in a long distance relationship with your PMDD partner. So me and my PMDD partner have been in a long distance relationship for 4 years now. So to give you a little background about me, in case you're not a private client, a lot of my private clients know a lot about my personal life behind the scenes because we get to know each other, we become friends, and we just talk about life during our sessions. So they know the ins and outs of everything that's really going on with me right now. But I am in the military. I've been in the military for 19 years now, and my partner has been in the military for 20 years. We actually met each other when we were both stationed in Hawaii. He's in the Marines. I am in the Army. And we met. The backstory of that is, at first I was going to say, I'll tell you later, but I feel like I might as well just tell you right now. So we actually met when I was on my way to the gym. I was in my good days. I was so good. I was in my follicular days. I was really manifesting a partner. I had been in relationships before with previous PMDD partners, and the relationship didn't work. And after doing a lot of the work on myself, I realized that they didn't work, not because of the other person totally, but a lot of it had to do with me not being able to manage my PMDD and them just not being the right partner for me when I was in PMDD. So I had taken 2 years off of dating, which was huge for me because I'm a relationship type of person. I love being in relationships and doing couple things and planning my life with another person. And I had taken those 2 years and I really just got to know myself. You know, I got to know what I liked. I got to know what I wanted to do outside of another person. And that was a big journey for me because I was really a codependent partner. And a lot of that had to do with my PMDD journey when it first started. I didn't know what was going on. So I kind of latched onto my partner. And specifically when my childhood trauma came out, I really didn't know how to deal with that in conjunction with PMDD. So it really made it really hard for me to figure out how to heal myself from the childhood trauma, how to have PMDD, and also have a relationship. So earlier in my journey, I was a stage 5 clinger. I was just clinging a lot to my partner. Every single time I felt a symptom, I would cling to my partner almost for them to help me. And it really, at first, I didn't know why I would be so clingy towards my partner. But later on in my journey, I realized it was because I really just wanted somebody to relieve me of my pain. So earlier, when I would have PMDD rage, it would almost be because I was mad at them for not healing me of the PMDD. I almost felt like, well, what's the purpose of having a partner if you can't heal my PMDD? Like, you're supposed to be able to help me. And so now that I realize that your partner can't cure your PMDD and it's not their responsibility, I'm able to have more of a balance. So I went from being a codependent to being interdependent, where I'm good with having my personal time, but I also am in a healthy space where I want to share my life with someone else. And that is where we all need to be when it comes to our PMDD partners, because if we put so much pressure on them to heal the relationship and to cure us and all those things, it's too much pressure on them, and they start to back up and they start to pull away because they feel helpless, because they do the little things and it doesn't help you. So they just retreat altogether. So that was a cycle that I was on for about the first 10 years, I would say, of my PMDD. I was just in that cycle. And so when I took those 2 years off, I remember the day that I met my PMDD partner so clearly, because I was in my good days. I had found a good routine. I was literally, I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I was walking home from the gym, and I literally had my backpack on, and I took a selfie and I posted it on social media, and I was like, think I just met my partner. I just posted it to be very spontaneous. Back then, I would post whatever I felt in the moment. And that's what I posted. And that very same night, I met my husband. And that's why I say I really believe I was calling him in, because I was so clear on what it is that I wanted, but I was also in a place where I wasn't desperate for it. And that was new for me, because when I was in relationships before, if I wanted to be in a relationship, I kind of got to this point where I was just like, I was so needy and so desperate to be in a relationship that I overlooked a lot of the qualities that ended up ruining the relationship, because I felt like I could make it work. I didn't want to accept that these red flags were there. And so I ignored them, and I paid for that dearly when the relationship ended, because the same red flags that I saw in the beginning were the same reason why we broke up. So that it just wasn't me listening to myself. It was more listening to the void that I had, which was based off of my childhood trauma and being neglected. To give you a little bit of background on that, I was put into foster care at the age of 3. My parents dealt with addiction, my mom and my dad, biological. And so I was placed in foster care at the age of 3. And then I was going from foster care home to foster care home. And then I finally got adopted at the age of 5. Well, when I got adopted into a family that had a lot of foster kids. And I was the one that they adopted along with my other adopted brother. And then I was emotionally abused from that age, from the age of 5 all the way until 17, physically and verbally, mentally, all of the things. But I chose to be resilient in dealing with my childhood trauma by bearing it. So I was disassociating myself from the trauma that I experienced by just being this happy person that act like nothing bothered me. And that's what carried me through a lot of my adulthood. When I joined the military and I just became successful in my career, it was because I wasn't addressing the trauma. I was just kind of like putting it on the back burner and burying it and acting like everything was okay. But I would find when I got into these relationships, specifically when I got into PMDD, everything would just kind of come out. And it was scary at times, because it would like dig up a lot of the things that I had worked so hard to bury. And so every relationship, that became an issue. And it was just the PMDD rage mixed with the childhood trauma was just not the recipe that was beneficial for a relationship. And I know there's so much stigma going on in the PMDD community about this trauma caused PMDD or, all of these things. And as a practitioner, I just want to give you my take on that. So I make it very clear, because I do mention my childhood trauma a lot of times in my recordings with you and in my content as well, because that's a real part of my journey. That's a real part of my life. But I do not believe that my childhood trauma caused my PMDD. I don't believe that that's the reason that I have PMDD, but I do believe that my symptoms get exacerbated by me going through that re-traumatization. When I'm remembering my childhood trauma, it causes a lot of stress on my mind. It causes a lot of stress on my body. This is the same with my clients. And so it's harder to deal with. So whether I had PMDD or not, I would have to deal with my childhood trauma. And so I want to make sure that you understand that that's not a cause, because I know a lot of times we believe that if we cure our trauma, that we're going to cure our PMDD. And that's not the case for me. And that hasn't been the case for my clients. I cannot speak on what that's done for other people. I do believe that you should be on a healing journey to heal your trauma, but I don't necessarily, I haven't seen that it has healed PMDD itself. Because I think I've said this before, but I've healed myself of my childhood trauma. That doesn't mean that I don't still have triggers where it comes back up, but I've healed it from overtaking my relationships, overtaking my life. And obviously I still have PMDD because it's coming tomorrow. So I just want to preface that as I go deeper into the story, so that you don't think that I'm going to tell you the magic cure, because I am going to tell you how I healed my childhood trauma, but I'm not going to be able to link that to healing PMDD. So after I went through those 2 years of being single, just taking a break from relationships, which was really huge for me, I just dived so deep in my personal development journey. I was getting my master's. I was in school. I actually started my doctorate during that time, and a lot of my studies were in trauma. So it kind of helped me heal through everything I was going through, but it also put me in this really great space where I was just so comfortable with who I was, because I was doing the work. And I was just like, I'm going to find out who I am. I'm going to find out what I want in a partner. And when I did, I really believe it was because it was so clear. So I believe that in the past, I wasn't clear on the kind of partner I wanted. Like, I was very vague. I wasn't specific. But this time I was very specific, and I'll share that with you. I wanted a partner that was very spiritual, because I believe that's the foundation of everything that I do. And then I also wanted them to be into movement, some kind of moving their body. I wasn't specific on what kind of movement it was. They didn't have to play a sport or anything, but I use movement as therapy. I do it every day. So I kind of wanted someone that would do life with me. And I knew that being able to move and love to move is something that I wanted to have my partner do with me, without me having to be like, hey, I never wanted to make my partner do things with me. I wanted them to have their own love for it. And luckily, as I told you, I was coming back from the gym when I did this whole manifestation. My partner loves going to the gym, going on a run, hiking, just being really, really active. He's a Marine, so that's a given. They're very hardcore, very active. And I remember meeting him and being like, wow, I really met my match. And he's so positive, just a bright light. He's very charismatic. He's an extrovert. And I wanted someone that would have a good family. So I knew that I grew up with a lot of traumatic family experiences. I have a daughter, and I kind of wanted her to be exposed to what a real family, not a real family, but a healthy family dynamic looked like, because I'm recreating the narrative from my generation. I'm breaking generational curses, because everything that my biological family did to me was a result of something that was done to them. So I wanted to create an atmosphere where I wasn't going to recreate the trauma that I experienced, but I was going to create a loving, healthy environment for my child to mimic and for the generations to come to mimic. So breaking generational curses is something that I believe is a mission of mine, a passion of mine, but it's the work within it. It's very hard. It's very deep, but it's going to be so worth it. So it was very important that I aligned myself. I linked myself with someone that was going to help that come to fruition, because I really believe that that was just such a strong purpose for my life. And also someone that loves to help others. And that is like the epitome of what my partner does. He helps anyone that he comes in contact with. Their life is better because they know him. And he's so charismatic. He's so magnetic. He works so hard to fill in the gaps of whatever people need. He's so generous. His heart is huge. And he's just very in tune and gain satisfaction out of helping others. That's another personality trait that I have that I wanted my PMDD partners to have, because sometimes when you're going on a journey of healing others, of helping others, if your partner's not aligned with that, if they don't understand that, then it can cause problems within a relationship, because the time that you're spending pouring into other people, they're going to want for themselves. You know, it's kind of like, why are you going to record a podcast for everyone else when you could be curling up on the couch with me and, you know, watching Netflix or, you know, just spending time together? And every single time that I tell my PMDD partner that I'm recording a podcast or I'm having a client call, he always tells me how proud of me that he is. He tells me, wow, that you're so amazing. I just love that about you. And I needed that. I needed that level of support, because I know the purpose that my life has on the PMDD community in regards to relationships. And I wanted to be able to continue and expound upon that with a partner. He's even come on the podcast. If you go to earlier episodes, he's on there with me in my course, the PMDD Partners Path, that I currently am launching right now. That's open, that's live. He's on there as well. So if you have not registered for the PMDD Partners Path, I strongly suggest that you go to my bio on @inlovewithpmdd, or go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com. And you make sure that you sign up for that, because that course is really going to be such a foundational course for PMDD partners when they're first finding out that you have PMDD, or they're wanting to be a better PMDD partner and just wanting to know how to do it. Because so many of my clients, they just want to know, I'm willing to do whatever you say to help my PMDD partner. I just need to know what it is that I need to do. And in there, I kind of break it down, and I made it very short, sweet, and to the point, because I didn't want it to be one of those things where it seems so overwhelming. And I wanted you to begin to incorporate the tools that I give you with your partner, because as we know, PMDD happens every single month. And so this course is going to be something that you can take within the month. You can binge watch it actually in one day. I believe it's 5 modules. You can binge watch it, or you can do it over the span of 1 module a week, or however you want to do it. Everybody's path is different, but that's why it's called the PMDD Partners Path, because it's your path to being a better PMDD partner. And it's giving you the answers to a lot of the questions that we talk about when you DM me, when we talk all the time. I spend about 1 to 2 hours in my DMs a week, just talking to PMDD partners, giving them advice and just guiding them on how to be a better PMDD partner, how to overcome some of the obstacles that they have going on. So a lot of that content is within the PMDD Partners Path. And once you sign up for it, once you register, then you have that content that you can replay it whenever you need to. So if you're at a point where you want to tell your PMDD partner how to be better, but you really don't know how, you don't have the words, you don't have the tools, but you just know that it needs to be improved, then go to the link in my bio and sign up for that course, so that it can kind of give you a kickstart to having a better understanding of how to be a better PMDD partner and how to relieve some of the stress that your partner's going through. and just stop disconnecting every single month and having to repair the damage. I know for me, this last 2.5 months have been so difficult with the moving and being long distance. So I know the importance of having the tools while you're in PMDD, because even though we have PMDD, life happens and that's not going to change. And so if we don't have the tools to manage that, then it's going to continue to damage our relationships. And I tell this to my clients all the time. You have the ability to restore your relationship no matter where it is. If you implement these tools, you both have to want it though. I've dealt so many times where only one partner wants it, the other partner does not. And a lot of times what I say in that case is we can work one-on-one on how you can be better, how you can handle the situation better. And that can give you a little bit of confidence on how to deal with everything, or just dealing with the anxiety of being with a PMDD partner, or someone with PMDD, because I know my partner, that's the symptom that he has the most. When I go through PMDD, he begins to get anxiety when the rage comes out, when the arguing comes out, when all of those things. And that's something that I help him with. And that's something that I help a lot of my clients with, because we don't just have symptoms as people with PMDD. Our partners also get symptoms by being in a relationship with us and dealing with our symptoms. So back to my story. So after I spent those 2 years and I knew clearly what I wanted in a partner and I met him, it was kind of like we both had done the work. He was single for a while before then, so he knew what he wanted. So when we met each other, we were magnetized towards each other in a way of like a puzzle piece, like it just fit. And I want to preface that our relationship has never been perfect. It has been amazing. It has been great. It has been hard. It has been, difficult. It's gone through the ebbs and flows. So I know so many times when you hear about people's relationship, you think, oh, must be nice for them, or that's great that they can have a relationship. But I want you to know that we were never perfect. We used to call ourselves perfect all the time in the beginning because we really felt like we were perfect for each other. And I do believe. I do believe that I have my perfect PMDD partner. And it took me so long to find that. And so it makes holding on to that and doing the work so much more worth it when you know that you're with the right person. I believe that when you're with the right person, no matter what you go through in your PMDD relationship, we can fix it. Don't lose hope, because when it turns around, you can see how easily it can turn around for you. Because think about when you're in PMDD and how you think about your partner, how you see your partner. And then think about when you come out of PMDD, how you look at your partner. Just like your feelings can change that quickly about how you see them, how you view them, how you feel about them, the same thing can happen when you're doing the work of overcoming those arguments, those fights, those frustrations of not being on the same page. It's just a matter of having the right tools to do so. So we're in the month of June. I am accepting new clients for the month of June. Once those slots are filled, then I will have to close that down. I only take 8 private clients a month because I deal with them on a consistent basis. Now, if you do drop-ins, what I do have are 1 hour here, 1 hour there that you can book on my website on www.inlovewithpmdd.com. But what I'm specifically talking about is a 2-month private coaching where I really work with you and your PMDD partner for 2 consistent PMDD cycles. So where I can implement those tools and customize them to your relationship. And so the reason why I do 2 months, because what works 1 month may not work the next month. And so I give you double the amount of tools that are specifically gearing towards the symptoms that you have that are impacting your relationship. So if you want to sign up for my 2-month private coaching, then go ahead and send me a message. Go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com, or you can email me, rose@inlovewithpmdd.com. So when I met my partner and we went on one day. I remember I'm obsessed with the moon, like full moons. I've always been obsessed with them. Like I used to do something called moon watching where you just go outside and watch the full moon. So when I met my partner, that was something that I was planning on doing. And he was just like, oh, I want to go. And so I was like, okay, you can go. And I thought that was really, sweet, but I also thought it was weird because like I normally go by myself or like I just see people when I'm there. That was one of the things that I discovered about myself when I spent those 2 years um, apart from a partner. I'm a night owl and I used to just love, I was living in Miami at the time and I had this high-rise apartment where you could literally see the moon. And I was like obsessed. I would like just stay up all night, play music, and just jam out and watch the full moon. And it was so healing for me. It was so peaceful for me. My daughter was sleeping and I just had my time. I did a lot of journaling during that time. It was just my time, me and the moon. So when he said he wanted to go, I was like, oh, okay. So, we ended up meeting there. Yeah, we met there. So we get there and he got out the car and he had a gift bag for me. And I was like, what in the world? Like I had never, honestly, the gift bag. When we talked, I told him that I loved Merlot wine. I still do. And he bought me a bottle of Merlot. He also brought me a card. He bought me a mug, like a cute, like rose gold. It was like pink rose gold mug. And it was all these cutesy things inside this gift bag. And I was like, what in the world? Like he really, and again, we had just made the date like that day. So I was so shocked. So we went there. He gave me the gift. I was so impressed, so touched because they were all customized gifts. And to this day, he still never, so we're long distance and he never shows up to see me without a gift. Like that's like the perfect greeting after you haven't seen someone in a while. And the gift is always based off of something that we've talked about that he's just heard that I needed, even for my business. I do a lot of stuff. I'm on my phone so much. I have so like many things that I do. And so he got, for my birthday this past year, he got me an iPad to basically work on so I can not be staring at my phone. Like I have MacBooks and all those things for my university, for school, but he got me the iPad specifically for work. And that was just so thoughtful because he just is, the attention to detail is so there. And that's one of the things that, again, I manifested in a sense that I asked for. I wanted someone that was really going to be into me in a sense of they're really paying attention to the little things. They're not just like, I'm not a traditionalist. I'm not, when it comes to holidays, like I like to do holidays after the holiday. I don't like to celebrate when everybody else celebrates, especially Valentine's Day, like all those cliche things. I'm just not really into. I'm into those spontaneous day-to-day things. So another thing that he does that is like the best that he's been doing since the beginning. We were living in Hawaii. He went to the ABC store and he wrote like on these, there was these sticky notes that had like aloha on it, like all these things. And he writes little handwritten notes and he leaves them in all of my things. And he used to do that when we were dating. And then now that we're married, like I still unpack and find like he's left them there, or I'll come back in the house. Like if I took him to the airport and I'll see that he left them in little places. And what's so symbolic about those sticky notes is that during those 2 years that I was going through my healing journey, one of the things that I do is this technique, and I use it a lot with my clients. So I'm hence giving it to you for free. But I took a packet of sticky notes and I wrote, I am. And then after that, I wrote just different positive things that I wanted to believe about myself when I was in PMDD. And I had this floor to ceiling mirror. It was like a closet mirror on both sides. And I literally put those sticky notes all over my mirror. So I literally couldn't see myself without looking at all of the sticky notes, and it covered the mirror. And it was so healing for me. I did that for about 1.5 years. And because even when I moved, I took the sticky notes with me and just put them other places. And I'm just really big on words of affirmation. That is my love language. And he fulfills that for me. And that's something that I asked for because it's something that I knew that I needed. So when you're thinking about the 5 love languages, you need to know which one it is that you need so that you can either communicate that to your current PMDD partner, or if you don't currently have a PMDD partner, like know what it is that you need. Because when PMDD came around and he was consistently telling me how amazing I was, how beautiful I was, how proud of me I was, like he was, like all of those things, just when my cup was empty because of PMDD, he always filled it back up. He always did that. And he's very consistent. That was another thing that I thought about when I was manifesting my partner, is that I need someone that's consistent, because I had dealt with so many partners that did stuff for a little bit for their benefit and then they stopped doing it. And then it was just so frustrating. And one thing about my partner is that what he started to do from the beginning, he has continued to do that. And he's just so solid and dependable. And that's not something that I've ever had growing up. In my childhood, I've never really felt that closeness to where I could really depend on someone. And so as I met him and we were on that date, and it was like pure magic. And I was realizing that this is the person that I manifested. This is the person that I want to be with. And so I didn't know how he felt though. Like he just looked like he was having a good time. I didn't know if, that was just his thing or whatever. So we ended up having an amazing date. And then we were talking on the phone the next day. He was on leave. And sorry, I'm getting a little choked up, because when I think about us in the beginning, it's just our journey. Sorry, I drank some water. Our journey has been so crazy. And just going back to the beginning, it just got to me for a minute. But anyway, so after we had that date, he dropped me off. And then the next day I had to go to work. He was on leave. I had to go to work. And he was like, okay, like have a good day. He was talking to me when I was on my way into work. And then, he said, I'll talk to you like at the end of the day. We had planned to see each other. We're going to go to like this little beach place and all these things. And I remember like by midday, he was like, I couldn't wait to talk to you. Like, he's just so passionate, so excited. Oh my God. Like I loved his energy. I still do. I love his energy. He just makes you feel so alive, and you just get so engrossed with his energy. And so he's like, I just couldn't wait to talk to you. And so one of the things that he does for me is he never makes me wonder. Like, I don't have to wonder if he's thinking about me. I don't have to wonder if he's going to call. I never wonder anything. Like, he's very present. He makes his intentions well known. And so we ended up hanging out for the next couple of days, and we went hiking. We went all these places all over Hawaii. And then he talked to me. He's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. And he said, I'm leaving on deployment to Dubai. And I was just like, of course, like Murphy's Law, if something could go wrong, it will. So I was just like shocked. I was like, no, because I finally felt like I found my person. So when he said that he was going to Dubai, I was like literally thinking, dude, bye, like, how is this gonna work? Like, I didn't know. And so he was feeling the same way that I was feeling, as far as believing that I had everything that he wanted and more, as he stated, and he told me. So again, I didn't have to guess in, and I didn't feel alone in feeling like this is my person, because he literally was like, you're my person. Like, you're like my twin. That's what we call each other, because everything is just so aligned. We're very different, but as far as our foundational things, it's very much intact. Like how we want to live our life, what we want to do, like all those things are like literally the same. And so when he was like, I have to go to Dubai, I'm like, well, for how long? Because I was going to be in Hawaii for that next year. And he said a year. And I was like, stop, because Dubai in conjunction with Hawaii, like the time difference is literally like when one person goes to sleep, the other person wakes up. Like, I was just like, all right. And then I just was silent. And I was thinking about it. And he was like, what would it take? Like, do you think this could work? And I don't know how this came out of my mouth, like this boldness. But again, I had been working on myself for 2 years. So I literally said, the only way that I would still be with you for a whole year while you're in Dubai and we're on separate time zones is if we were married. Like I said, like that's the only way I would keep that kind of commitment. And I said it because I knew myself, but I didn't say it for him to do anything with it. I was just giving him the information. Like, yeah, like unless we're like this boyfriend girlfriend thing, and you being gone for a year on different time zone, like legit the opposite, like that wasn't going to work for me. So he just was like, okay. So we kept spending time together for another couple of days, and I met his friends, and we had so much fun. Like, he is just like so much fun. And I was still working, so I would just like literally get off of work and then go hang out with him. I was staying in this beautiful high rise in Hawaii that had like a hot tub, and we would spend our evenings up there just talking about life and just laying out, because they had the little lounge or the beach chairs or whatever. And we just was up there. We were listening to music, just vibing out, talking about life, talking about our past, getting to know each other, all of the things. And then we had an evening where we were supposed to, one of the things, if you listen to a previous episode, you know the story about him smoking. So one of the things that, of course, the yin and the yang, there had to be something, was that when I met him, he was a smoker, but I believe he was just like trying to hide it, like in a sense that he didn't really do it that much around me, but like when we kissed and stuff, like I could taste it. And that was one of my deal breakers. And I was kind of like, okay, that makes sense, because there is something, like he's not like check everything off of my long list. So he smoked, and that was for me, like in my life, I've never dated a smoker, like ever. Like that was like, no. So I told him that, and he agreed. He was like, well, I'll just stop smoking. Like, it's not that serious for me. Like, you're worth more than the smoking. So again, we had that big argument when I was in PMDD. I was deep in PMDD, like the part of PMDD where your cycle is about to come on, and you're just like, the symptoms are like on 10.2 version 5. Like, that's how I was. And he had went out, we were in Buffalo Wild Wings, and he was taking a while, sitting at the table and then with his other friends and just talking. I was like, man, where'd they go? And his friend was a smoker, which I don't care, not my man, not my problem. And come to find out, I walked outside to see, where he was, because the bill was paid. Like, we were just sitting there, and he was smoking a cigarette. When I tell you that I went off on him in front of Buffalo Wild Wings on the main street of Waikiki, I did not care, but I was so livid that in my mind, he lied to me, because one of my triggers, again, from my childhood trauma is, if you make a promise to me, if you tell me you're going to do something and you don't do it, like, one or two things are going to happen. I'm either done with you, or you're going to hear it, and it's not going to be nice. And that's what happened with, I remember that. That's like one of our biggest arguments to date that he always references. And so when that happened, I went off on him, and we were scheduled to go on a hike the next day. And we just like, he was supposed to come back to my place, and we're going to talk. He was in a car with his other friends, and they were like, we called our Uber everywhere because it was downtown. And so he ended up, like, I left and called an Uber by myself. And then he was stuck downtown. So he ended up getting in there. He told his friends to come back and get an Uber so that he can go back with them. And they were just like, oh my gosh, like what happened? Like it was horrible. And I really thought, like, I'm like, that's the end. Like, whatever, dude, blah, blah, blah. You guys are not going to believe this. So the very next morning, my cycle comes. I'm immediately like out of PMDD, back into that loving place. Like I couldn't believe the shift myself. So the night before, I was just like, this is over. We're done. Like blah, blah, blah. Like all of these evil thoughts, like all of these things. My cycle comes and I wake up the next morning and I text him and I said, are we still going on the hike? And he was so shocked. Like, what do you, like, you basically cussed me out in the middle of Waikiki. Like, what are you talking about? And so he was just like, and I was very like, just like, hey, like very open and sweet and all the things. And by that time we had told each other that we loved each other, so I was just acting really loving. Like, are we still going on the hike? And he was like, what? And then he was like, all right. So he kind of had a little attitude, but he was like, yeah. He was like, I didn't think we were going. And I'm like, well, I'm up. Like, he was like, I didn't think you were going to be up. I'm like, because it was early in the morning. So when you hike in Hawaii, you try to go really, really early because you want to beat the sun, from beaming on you. So I woke up at my normal time to go on a hike. It was like 5 something. And he was just like, I'm on my way. So he came there and I was just so loving. And I could tell that he was kind of shocked at the switch of my demeanor, but he was also really receptive of it because he loved it. You know what I mean? Like we were at our best when we were both like in that place. So he just kind of took it and we rolled with it and we went up there and we hiked the mountain. Oh my gosh, that mountain that we hiked was a beast. And I loved hiking. I was very like into, how the hikes go from easy, medium to, hard. Like I love the hard ones just to see, like, and those kind of hikes in Hawaii could take you like the day. Like you'll start like early in the morning and you'll be there to like mid-afternoon because you're walking, you're hiking, you're doing all the things. So I was fine. He brings his speaker on hikes all the time, which I love. I'm like a headphones person. Like I'll just put my headphones on and listen to whatever. And he brings a speaker, puts it in his backpack so you can hear the music and then he plays it, So this particular day he was playing like kind of like Hawaiian romantic music. Like it was really, really cool. Like, but it was like an island vibe. Like it was so cool. Normally it's like, oh my gosh, like gangster music or like EDM music, like all these things. So I was just like enjoying the vibes and he was leading me. So he went in front of me because he had done the hike before. So he went in front of me. And then after he went in front of me, I just followed him, basically. I followed him for about 2 to 3 hours. We were on this hike and we didn't talk, which I love. I love, love, love the fact that we can go out and do something physical. We're in each other's company, but we don't have to be talking the whole time. Like, because it's almost like the best of both worlds. Like I get my me time, but then I also get to see him and be close to him. So we went all the way to the top and it was beautiful. Like you just see an ocean all around you. Everything was graffiti. Like they did graffiti art all on top of this flat, stretch of concrete or whatever. And we got to the very top and he was like, let's sit down. And we put our feet over the edge. When I said, and we were so high up, I was like, what? And all you see down there is just open ocean water. It was the most gorgeous view I had ever seen. And it's panoramic. It was like 360, like all around you. And then we saw a turtle in the water. We're like, oh my God, like this big, huge, beautiful turtle. And I was just like, I'm like, this day is like so perfect. And then he starts going into how much he loves me and how, the things that he loves about me and all these things. And then you guys, you gals, you PMDD partners, he takes out a ring and asks me to marry him. This was 1 month in. Okay, so I'm speeding up all of the details because we did little things in between, but it was 1 month from our first date that he proposed. And I was on top of there and I literally, like, it's kind of like you can't make any sudden movements because you'll probably fall off the cliff. And I was literally holding on to him. And I just remember being so happy and so at peace. Like the feeling was just exhilarating. And I said yes, and we kissed, and there was nobody up there, but just like this one other person that just made it to the hike, like to the top. And we asked him to take our picture, and I'll share the picture on my Instagram so you guys can see. But that day was so pivotal to me. And it happened literally when I was in my good day, like when my good day, like literally came day one of my good days. I was like, wow. I couldn't believe that this was happening. But again, he said he was going to Dubai for a year. I'm still staying in Hawaii for a year. And what I said was literally coming true. I literally said the only way I would do it is if, we were getting married. And so he was scheduled to leave. And I think it was like 2 to 3 more weeks. Yeah, I think it was like 3 more weeks. We ended up getting married in Nevada. We went to Vegas, got our marriage certificate. My daughter was the witness. It was the cutest thing. She signed as the witness. We did it. I can't remember the name of this place. It's like 45 minutes, almost an hour outside of Vegas. So it's not in Vegas. We didn't like go to a chapel or anything. We went there to get the license, but we went there and, it was just perfect. It was perfect. It was out with these red rocks, and it was just the 3 of us and the minister and the photographer. And we drove up, and, it was so amazing. And I literally was like, wow, I really manifested this in a sense of he's specifically what it is that I said that I wanted even before I met him. And so we went through that next year, and that was one of our best years. One of the trips though that I planned when we went to visit him in we went to Egypt, we went to Africa, we went to all those places, we went to Dubai, of course, like all those places around the Middle East to visit. And I remember switching into PMDD while I was there, and I was just like, it was like a night and day. And he handled it amazing. Like he just was still so happy because he was just so happy to see me. Like it wasn't as big of a deal then. We got in like 2 or 3 arguments, but we recovered. But it did get, like we were starting to learn. That was our first year of marriage. We were starting to learn our triggers. But then being that we were long distance, and I went back on a plane, I went back to Hawaii, we went back on the opposite time zones, and we were so great when we're apart and we have that time to kind of, regroup, because it's kind of like a lot of the things that you would say, you have that space and time. So oh my gosh, I have tips for you. I have PMDD Trauma Transformational Tools to give to you. And I have 4 of them on how to survive a long distance PMDD relationship. And this is what's worked for myself. And then it's also works for a lot of my clients who don't live with their partners. So when I say long distance, it doesn't have to be like Dubai and Hawaii or anything like that. Like right now, we're just 6 hours apart. We're both in California, but we're in 2 different bases in California. And that's very common when you have 2 branches of the military that are, married. They don't always have the same assignments because they're not based together. So basically, I'm going to give you these tools, and they're really going to help you. If you're not living with your PMDD partner, this is just going to help you stay connected to them when you're in PMDD and when you're not in PMDD. So the first thing is you need to maintain constant contact, and that can look differently for everyone. So there's so much with technology these days that you can do to maintain contact. I know you can do FaceTime. You can even do video messages. Like it's kind of like a text message, but you send it like through video so that they can see you, see your facial expressions. You can text them. You can get on the phone, but you have to schedule constant contact. You can't just let your life fly by. So if you don't live with your partner, maybe it's something that you do morning, that you do afternoon, and that you do evening. So this is something that you're going to need to create a routine with. And the reason why I say create a routine, because you don't want to miss it, because you never know when your partner's missing you or when anything is happening with them, because you can't see them. So you need to make sure that you're creating this routine. I know specifically for me, we text first thing in the morning. And we text a devotional kind of like about our relationship and things like that. And we kind of talk like that. And then by lunchtime, we always ask each other how our day is. Doesn't matter what coast we're on. There's been a lot of times where I've stayed up, he stayed up, and we're on different time zones. And we just want to know by midday because things happen in their life. And so if you're not maintaining consistent contact with your PMDD partner, you don't know how they're feeling. So by the end of the day, if they're acting a certain way, like you're going to know that because you're going to know what's going on in their day. Like you don't want it to be where it's the end of the day, they're acting grouchy and you don't know why. There's been so many times where my partner has responded to me in a stressful manner, like he's stressed, and I've known why. So I've been able to give him grace, like be more forgiving and be like, oh, okay, he's just acting like that because this happened. And it's better if you know the reason why. You can forgive your partner more versus not knowing. So that constant contact is so important. The next thing is be fun and spontaneous. So with getting into those routines, still kind of mix it up a little bit. Just because you're not near each other doesn't mean that you can't do something fun and do memorable things. It just means that you can be more creative with it. So you can have date night through Zoom. You can get dressed up and, we can cook a meal. We've taken so many, we love taking like assessments, like the couples assessments, and then we'll kind of sit down and talk about them. We love to do personality types, and just talk about them, just learning more about each other and just showing that interest, but giving them your undivided attention. So you can watch the same show, or you can give them a surprise gift. Like make sure you're doing something that's outside of the routine. The next thing you need to know is be realistic. So every time you meet your partner in a long distance relationship, you'll most likely treat the occasion as like a special occasion and do nice things because you haven't seen them in a while. But you need to realize that when you finally live together, that may not always be the thing. So you need to not set these standards that you're not going to continue. So if you're going to be long distance or you're living apart right now, but you're planning on getting married and then you're going to live together, make sure you're starting habits that you can continue. Because the worst thing you can do is start doing things for your PMDD partner and being so sweet and generous and all these things. And then when you live together and then, or you're not long distance anymore, then you just stop doing them. So make sure whatever you start, you can continue because you're training your partner that this is the way that you show love. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that you're actually going to continue. So another thing is make room. So sometimes you may have to take a rain check on that before bedtime call, and that's okay. This is so neither one of you feels smothered and starts to feel like it's an obligation. I remember I got to that point where sometimes I was in PMDD and I really wanted to isolate, and I was just going through the motions and doing things, not really because I wanted to, but it was kind of just like, oh, okay, I'm going to do them. But now I've gotten to the point where I can communicate to my partner, like, hey, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go to sleep and blah, blah, blah. And I used to feel guilty about that because I used to be like, we're long distance. Like, this is the least I can do. And I used to force myself to stay awake and do the things. But then I ended up being resentful because I really didn't want to do them, but I was forcing myself to do them. So make sure that everything you're doing is genuine. And if you're not necessarily in the right mindset to do it, then I would say reschedule with them, but always communicate it in a loving way. Just say, hey, babe, I'm going to go to sleep early. I know during PMDD, I sleep way longer than I usually do. So when it comes to long distance, it's like I may need to take a rain check on saying good night, depending on what time their night is. And that's okay. And give yourself grace and just say, you know what? I'm doing my best. So a relationship should take up your time, no matter if it's long distance or not. So make sure you're putting forth the effort, but you're also communicating your true feelings. So these are a couple of ways of really dealing with a long distance relationship and knowing that it can survive and even thrive. So take the time that you need for each other and work on things in your specific relationship that are going to work for you. Because you're not going to be closer in miles while you're apart, but you will be closer in your heart. And one of the things that we said for the first 2 years was that we grew so much because it forced us to communicate in a way that we probably wouldn't have if we weren't apart. So kind of reframe your mind to being in that long distance relationship. So like, this is not a bad thing. This is actually a good thing because now we have the opportunity to communicate. We don't have a choice but to, and we're learning so much more about each other. We're learning how to deal with each other better. And it's genuinely can make you closer if you allow it. If you look at it, if you keep looking at it like, oh, this sucks, we're apart, and you have that negative connotation with your long distance, then it is going to suck and it is going to be hard. But if you look at it like we're both working on this and we're learning more about each other, then it can make you excited and then you can start looking forward to the future of when you will be together, when you will get married and when you will live together and when you will be closer to them. So you don't have to look at the long distance as a bad thing. So these tips about dealing with long distance has really, really, really helped me and my PMDD partner, even as we've navigated how to deal with PMDD. I'm communicating to him. I do something called a PMDD check-in, and I'm actually going to be providing that to my customers because I provide it to my private clients. It's like a PMDD check-in worksheet that you can kind of give to your PMDD partner during PMDD. And then some of them still use it when they're not in PMDD because it is a good way to just jot down all of these things that you wish your partner knew. And so if you want a copy of that, something that I provide to my private clients, DM me on Instagram at In Love with PMDD so that you can get a copy to be able to do with your PMDD partner, where you're just checking in with them, where you're letting them know how you're feeling. I know so many times you're like, oh, what is it saying? Like, I sent them my calendar. I told them when I was in PMDD, but it's like, they don't really get it. You can say you're in PMDD, but your symptoms may be different this month than it was last month. So this is a live, okay, what am I doing when I'm in PMDD kind of thing that I think that your partner would really, really, really benefit from. So these are the ways that you can survive and thrive in a long distance relationship with your PMDD partner. Remember, enrollment is open for the PMDD Partners Path. This is a way for you to become a better PMDD partner and also to provide your partner with all the things of what is PMDD, how does it affect my relationship, what is it that I need, what is it that I don't need, what is it that you're supposed to do, what is that you're not supposed to do. All of these questions are answered in this course. So you need to make sure that you enroll. Go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. I also have the link in my bio has the wait list. And if you need private coaching, you can get that you can schedule that. I've opened up the calendar for June. Again, once it's full for the 2-month clients, that you're going to do consistently for 2 months. Once that's full, I'm going to go ahead and close that off. And then also I am opening up the individual sessions. So if you need any of those resources, let me know. But always remember that you can have the PMDD relationship that we all desire, and we got this. I hope these PMDD Trauma Transformational Tools help you and your PMDD partner. If you found this podcast helpful, please comment and leave me a 5-star review to help other PMDD partners find our show with these tools and support. This is how you can help support the show and other PMDD partners. For everything that as PMDD partners go through, we should not have to do this alone. So until next time, remember that we can have the relationship that we desire and deserve while we have PMDD. We got this.